Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast. The podcast that is plotting and planning to take over the world. And also this is actually a special edition of the podcast. So first, I'm one of your hosts, John Bruford, joined by your other host, Fintan Costello. Fintan,
hello, John.
Hello. This is it's kind of a double-barreled kind of edition, right?
It's the lawsuit edition.
It's the lawsuit edition. And it's the executive edition.
Allegedly.
No, see, what I want to start off with saying is so
the alleged lawsuit from the alleged executives.
I get people saying to me, if I'm at ICE or something like that, people say to me, is Fintan really a top executive? Is he actually? And I'd be like, yeah, totally. I mean, and I don't ever say to them, just look at his hair. He's clearly getting his hair cut once a week, with like all top executives do. I'm not saying look at his clothes. He's only wearing top clothing. Yeah, and
I am completely on brand, John.
You utter bastard. That's mine. That one is, isn't it? That's how it fits over your hoodie.
That's what I've got it. Yeah, it's
fucking bastard.
It's too cold in here to not have it. So yeah,
so every Matrix not only benevolently sponsor the industry's finest podcast, they also keep you warm.
I raided their swag shop at ICE. Raided it.
And I didn't, because they were like, "Oh, Fintan's already cleaned us out. He's got you some stuff."
I thought he has. I thought I was going to find you.
But how hard did you try to find me?
I messaged you, and you were off doing stuff. So
I was aspiring to be a top executive.
But then you sent me a picture that you were getting like you had your cappuccino. You had a cappuccino there. I'm like, oh, John's already doing this. I thought you had it under control.
A cappuccino I can't even drink.
Oh, because you don't drink coffee.
That's no. Right. So it's really just for show.
For sure. You threw it out. You're starving children. In
no. I said beforehand. I don't drink coffee, so there's no point. And top marketing executive James Bennett said, "It's okay. I'll drink your face." I mean, those may not have been his exact words, but that's what he meant.
Just look at the
lawsuit edition's going strong.
Foam everywhere, like a bulldog. Sorry, James.
So anyway, as we continue the start, this will be the executive edition. Fintan, you've made a new hire to your team recently.
Yeah. Have I told you about that?
You've mentioned it in passing, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to find out more. Tell us about this edition.
I've got an executive assistant.
Now, if that doesn't prove you're a top executive, nothing does, because people who aren't executives don't have executive assistants, do they?
And she is brilliant. She has just sorted me out in like 3 days. She's basically now the boss. It's fantastic.
Does she call you Mr. Costello?
No, it's not like that. No, that'd be weird. Nobody calls. People call me Mr. Costello are the police and the judge.
Yeah, it's very fair.
That and the accused. She's brilliant, and she's taken very, very good care of me, and it's been a great week.
But that's a big thing, because one of the things about true leadership, Fintan, is the ability to say, do you know what? I can't actually do it all. I'll get somebody that's capable to do the other things that I can't do.
And that's what we've learned this week, that I was doing completely the wrong stuff and not the right stuff. So,
how did you learn that?
Through nearly burning out during a sabbatical, I think is probably the way.
You're a great advert for holidays.
I went hard during the sabbatical.
Relaxed too much.
Yeah, so I'm working through a few things. Look, it's if you spend your entire career busy is good, then you find things to be busy with, and then so it becomes this self-fulfilling thing, and you end up. So I'm actually working with other person I'm working with is Leo,
Friend of the podcast, Leo Judkins.
Leo Judkins, iGaming leaders, business coach. So I'm working with Leo as well, and he's helping me kind of, now that I've got I've got a team and stuff, and I got Holly then helping me personally, but to make sure that with the bit of free time I have now, I don't fall back on old habits, and I introduce not just being busy for the sake of being busy again and getting 2 executive assistants or whatever in the future, that I'm prioritizing working on the right stuff. And Leo's brilliant, and I'm just working through stuff with him, and it's just it's great. And he's got great presence, and he's very thoughtful.
But sometimes that outside perspective's just priceless, isn't it? Because when you're in the shit, you can't smell it.
It's and this is the thing, we all know the right answer, but it's hard to identify it ourselves a lot of the time, because we're so busy. Oh my god, I've got to have lunch, I've got to collect the kids from school or dinner, or I've got to do this, do that. And then even just simple stuff like just social media or whatever. So so I'm working with Leo. He's brilliant. He's in just a couple of weeks, I'm just a better person.
Let's not go too far.
Oh, look, it's a low base. It's low base. Relative. It's all relative, John. Never said the best. Better. So I'm kind of on a, and then I've got a whole fucking army of people helping me. So I've also got a fitness coach, and a nutritionist. They kind of come as a package, and I'm losing weight, gaining muscle, and all that kind of stuff. So 2025 is gonna be a fucking brilliant year for it. Take over the world and have a 6-pack. It's gonna be great.
Wow,
I'm really excited.
Well, that's just Leo and Holly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just Leo and Holly is 2 hugely positive things.
Oh, massive, big time.
I mean, fuck your fitness coach and your fucking nutritionist.
No, that's because that creates the momentum, is because I'm losing a steady kilo of fat a month. Just these guys are just have me on a absolute machine, precision. And I'm constantly eating. I've never eaten so much in my life. So I'm never. It's not like I'm hungry or it's
eating
not
the right stuff, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it's not like I'm doing crazy work. The workouts feel like I'm cheating. It's an hour workout 4 times a week, and it's coming from I've got to do a 3-hour run this morning.
But when
it feels like cheating.
When you work with a coach and you've got a targeted workout and a set list of things to do, I love it, and I don't know why I don't work with a PT. Other than that, I'd be saying to them, "No, that's not how this works."
John, argue with somebody? No.
But it's a lovely way to work out. You just go in, you do your set list, and you fuck off back out.
Well, the thing is, it's not even because it's all online. So it's I've just got an app, and they've got today's workout, and I just go in and do that. So yeah, maybe my form's not perfect and stuff as well. So there's always tweaks and stuff. But honestly, it's the WhatsApp group for the food. So I've got to take a picture of every meal. So I've got the rules, but I've got everything I eat. I've got to take a picture of, and it's the accountability with the food for me is the big one. So that's had a huge impact. And I've been doing it for since October now. So it's a lot of it's just habit driven. So it's been pretty easy. Really
I was doing the accountability with food thing recently. When I think I told you that I'd when you messaged me, I said that's good timing. I've just eaten a family sharing pack of M&Ms.
Which that's everyone's done that, mate. That's not a.
Not when they've been carnivore for 4 years.
That is true. I'll eat that family sharing pack before the credits are finished at the movie, or the trailers of the movie. I'll have done that, and a bucket of popcorn, and a trough of Coke or whatever it is.
They just made it in lines. But of course, you're not even talking about Once Upon a Time in the West, and I appreciate my reference here is completely wasted on you. Once Upon a Time in the West has the longest opening credits sequence, I think, ever in a movie. It's something like 8 minutes.
What?
It's phenomenal, though. and there's not a word said in it. It's just three killers waiting at a train station for a guy to get off a train. And there's like little squeaky windmill type things, and it's beautiful.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful. Such a good movie. But anyway,
You know what we should do?
we should mention our other benevolent sponsors.
Yeah, we could do that too.
Because you're sitting there and I can just see the everything is possible thing on your top, which just fits in so well with your positive message today.
Hang on, I think there's something on the back. Yeah, stuff on the back.
What does that say?
I have no idea.
I think it says 17. Listen, you know, I don't know if Holly listens to the podcast. Maybe she could listen to this episode. But Holly, would you schedule a fucking haircut for him, please?
I've got one for Saturday.
It's only Thursday, Fintan.
Where are you getting your haircut, Fintan? Dublin.
Are you getting your haircut in Dublin?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
There's only one man who can tame this. There's only one man in Europe who can tame this. Probably the world. You can't just walk into anywhere and get this cut.
It's true. You say in the world, though, but I would imagine in New Zealand and Australia there are people that could handle it. Probably
The
Wales.
sheep shearers. I mean, the trough.
Exactly.
Get a deworming tablet while I'm in there.
See, Holly could book all of this for you.
she can do that. Well within her abilities.
So anyway, right?
Cool.
But we should mention our other benevolent sponsors.
We should.
The fresh from their smash hit recent, thing. Clarion Gaming. They're one of our benevolent sponsors.
Sure.
Smash hit event. I have seen a few criticisms of Ice recently.
There's always somebody.
No, it's quite. It's somebody. I can't even think who did this first, but somebody has actually started a very interesting conversation,
Really?
which we should cover.
Is it?
It really is. Yeah,
Is it?
yeah. Shall I not bring
Go
it up?
on.
This is the lawsuit edition.
This is the lawsuit edition, mate. Might as well fucking kill the sponsors while we're at it.
No, I saw somebody mentioned how blatant the black stroke grey market operators were in the Hort, and that they were next to the people doing full compliance and playing within the rules. And I actually thought that's a really interesting point.
Wait, hang on a second.
Yeah. What?
Show me anybody who's not a state operator.
Yeah.
Who isn't then... So, not a state operator. So, I'm not talking about like Vacus in Finland or PMU in France.
I know what a state operator is.
Right? So, I'm not talking about those kind of guys. Show me any other major operator that doesn't accept grey market customers.
I don't have that information to hand.
Exactly. So, I think people need to mind their own business. Focus on.
The other thing is as well, though, that to actually act on something like that, how do you prove? How do you disprove? You know, is the burden of proof on the exhibitor? Well, no, because they're actually laying this at the feet of the organizer.
Right. Fine. We'll organize our own offshore black market exhibition, and it'll be wild crack. No, but
taking over the world in 2025.
Hookers and blackjack. Literally. We're bringing back the 90s. I get the point, but it feels a bit...
Nothing else went wrong. We've got to pick a hole somewhere.
Like, okay, fine. And show me any other event. And this just feels like, you know, I had bad tapas in Barcelona and Clarion are to blame. Levels of, like, I'm just not buying this as a argument. It's bollocks. It just feels fucking... It's great clickbait for the old LinkedIn. And
I do believe that is where I saw
And
it.
if I was selling compliance services, for example, I'd be all over it because like it's just perfectly on brand and whatever. But fine, let's go through your client roster and see where they're licensed, and we'll do that one by one. You know what I mean? Like it just like, come on then, like nobody's hands are clean.
It's a terrible thing to say, but this is the lawsuit edition, so I allegedly support everything that Fintan just said.
Allegedly, nobody's hands are clean. Allegedly. I was allegedly selling whatever services.
So yeah, Clarion, great event, ice, good times. And we have one other sponsor.
We do.
We have Optimove, who launched OptiLive at ICE, which
They did.
Is a really fascinating bit of kit. It's kind of it's combining, you know, the whole
Optimove machine for in-play betting.
with in-play betting. So it's kind of a level of customization for in-play betting that I don't think's been achievable before.
It's also fully compatible with OddsMatrix and the EverMatrix product suite. So.
Holy shit!
Synergies.
What a time to be alive, allegedly. So those are our wonderful sponsors. And look, like we've just, you could say that was our intro title credit sequence. We took 16 and a half minutes. So fuck you, Sergio Leone.
That's pretty short for you, mate.
Eat shit, allegedly. Anyway.
Go on. What are we talking about today? Friend of the podcast?
We're talking about some bits and bobs in the news.
Will we talk about our friend of the podcast?
We are some of this is certainly a friend of the, but we'll start with a friend of the podcast. Shall we start with a friend of the podcast? So Gavin Isaac stepped down as CEO of Entain.
He did.
Now here's one of the things that's interesting about this is that Gavin is obviously very well known in the industry and is very, very highly respected.
Yep. And he's got an amazing track record in history.
Yeah, TV absolutely ridiculous. And he's well respected. He's earned it. You know, he's
100%.
So when something like this happens, nobody's like, "What the fuck's wrong with this guy?" Everybody is, "What the fuck's wrong at Entain?" Allegedly.
So look, okay, forget about Entain for a second, but if you take like, okay, new CEO, like, because there was you spend a lot of time finding a new CEO, bring in somebody with a great CV, great track record, somebody who gets stuff done, is a deal maker, big organizations, a heavy hitter, right? Realistically, for a new CEO to come in and have any sort of positive or negative impact on a business takes about 12 to 18 months before that really kicks in. Because, one person at the top can lead the ship and point it in the direction. But, it's still an oil, like big companies, it's still an oil tanker. It takes a while to turn. It takes a while to get systems in place and things moving and whatever happening. So it's usually, a longer time period, which is why CEOs get paid so well, because it's, 2, 3, 4 years kind of average tenure, typically. So, if there's shorter time periods, it's usually something different. It's usually not performance related. It's more corporate politics or difference in vision, strategy, or something like that is typically, like, obviously we've got no inside information or any insights or anything like that, but and if I'm wildly speculating, the big obvious elephant in the room is the BetMGM joint venture in the US, and probably something with that. If that's not the topic of conversation at every board meeting, I'd be very surprised. So, clearly there's a difference of opinion there somewhere, and somebody like Gavin's got options. So,
well, here's an interesting thing. The And I'm not suggesting for 1 second that this is what's happened, because it's not what's happened.
I'm going to say it anyway.
I am
I'm
going to
tie
say
it
it anyway.
together.
Well, no, but there's I think there's one vacancy that he would slot right into in the industry. I mean, Gavin's history is obviously, he's done a bit of everything, but a lot of experience on the supplier side. And the top man at Aristocrat has left to take over at the Every IGT behemoth. And Aristocrat, their two major bases are Australia and Nevada. Gavin's Australian, lives in Nevada. I wonder if that would be a really good fit. I can't see any reason why it wouldn't be. But I'm not saying that would be a factor in him leaving.
It'd be a great fit, but typically it wouldn't be if you've taken on this role, you're locked and loaded for a minimum commitment. But then, like I said, good people have options, so it's anything happens. So look, it's a surprise. Obviously, it'll all come out in the wash.
But I mean, the top jobs don't come up very often, apart from Entain, which comes up about twice a year.
Is the private jet still available? Just slide the CV across the table.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe Gavin just didn't have a name that would come up with a good nickname like Private Jet.
That's probably it. Yeah. Well, the thing is, right? It's all like when new CEO comes in. If you look at their track record, you can kind of take a good guess at like where the board's head's at in terms of strategy. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, the chairman stepped back in again to take over a role. They'll have their last list of, they've been through an extensive recruitment process, so they'll have some other candidates in mind maybe. And I think the writing will really be on the wall in terms of who steps in, and it'll be pretty straightforward to see what the strategy is, and that'll probably reveal or give a better indication of what was really going on. Because all this stuff, it's all Game of Thrones stuff, right? So it's all behind the scenes. And
I wonder if either of us are going to be on that list.
I don't know if we'd want the hassle, mate.
The thing is, though, for the right price, I think I could become a yes man.
Fucking row the boat. Let's go skiing.
Exactly.
Because everyone's got a price. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there saying I don't.
Mine is quite low, though.
Yeah, that's true. We've got different prices. Look, it's a good company. There's a lot of great people working there. Some massive brands. BetMGM's a monster. So it's tough, and they've got to do it in public, and it's a public listed company, and so it's never, these things are never easy, and I have a lot of sympathy for it, because it's there's gobshites like us speculating wildly, allegedly, and it could be something completely benign of like, the weather in London sucks, I'm going back to Nevada, right?
Well, I did posit the theory in my daily newsletter with the gaming boardroom that, because somebody put the idea out there that maybe that the relocation for Gavin would be too awkward and all this shit. And I'm thinking, no, because he's eyes open. He's not daft. He knows what these things involve. Plus, it's not like he's having to carry everything himself.
But then if he's got a family, there can be stuff like that. And
No, absolutely. But he'll have gone into this with his eyes open. So I don't think relocation would be even a tiny fraction of this. I don't think it's a factor at all. I think it's probably something to do with, it's either the carpeting in the executive washrooms or the toilet paper. Because a lot of places skimp on toilet paper, Fintan.
It
you shouldn't do that. You've got one arsehole.
Well, it's not even that, right? It's a false economy. So you buy the cheap toilet paper.
Seriously?
The single ply, which is basically just smearing,
Oh, yeah.
just to be graphic about it.
On a good day.
And you end up using 10 times as much toilet paper
you
as
do.
you would if it was proper toilet paper. So yeah, I'm definitely like a quad ply, whatever the maximum.
So listen, I get this is, you might be a little shocked by what I'm about to tell you.
Not really, mate. It's going to take a lot at this point.
I was asked to give a talk to the prize winners and the top students at my old sixth form college at their leaving awards ceremony.
Really? Like, were you're the only one who hadn't moved out of town or something, or like what?
No. So they asked me, right, and I said, why don't you ask Toby? And they were like, oh, he did it a couple of years ago.
And he was brilliant.
Exactly.
They still talk about it.
And I suggested Mara, who famously composed the music for this podcast.
She's done it 5 times. They're sick of asking her.
No, she's Mara's very, very quiet sort of person. She didn't want to do it. And so after suggesting about 5 other people, I said, yeah, all right. And in my speech to them, I used toilet paper as an example of something. And I said, basically,
life's like a roll of toilet paper.
I said, always buy good toilet paper. You've only got one arse.
Did you rip off the always wear sunscreen speech? Because they're all too young to know the song.
No, I didn't. Always buy good toilet paper because you've only got one arse. And I said, when most of you are probably going to go to university, when you're at university, you're going to end up at some point in shared accommodation. When it's your turn to buy the toilet paper, buy the good stuff. And when it's your flatmate's turn to buy the toilet paper, if they buy the cheap stuff, that will tell you a lot about them as people. And I said, because if they can't respect their own ass, they're certainly not going to respect yours.
Deep.
I know, right? And then the lady that had asked me to do it, she kind of coughed, snorted, was possibly sick in her mouth a little bit.
Just crossing your name off the list. Yeah. Horrified grandparents down the back of this graduation day. What's he talking about?
Yeah. But there are a few of the teachers at the college I was actually at sixth form with when we were all students.
Oh, that's fun.
And so they knew what to expect.
There is literally zero chance my secondary school would invite me in to give a talk. Like, zero. Absolutely no chance.
Why is that, Fintan?
Didn't end well at all.
Why is that, Fintan?
We don't have enough time on this podcast, mate. We don't have enough time. But...
Okay, look, I tell you what, right? We're going to talk about steak in the UK. We
are going to talk about steak in the UK.
And
I think there's a really interesting... So there's steak, which is one thing. And so they had some social media video of a adult actress in some city in the UK and blah, blah, blah. And so steak were using TPG, I think, as their...
Oh, the white label thing.
Yeah, the Isle of Man guys who do like the other Asian bookie facing type people. I'm sure among other things, and I'm sure they're all... Allegedly, it's all fine. But what I think is really, for me, what was really interesting is it's kind of the increase in tempo from the Gambling Commission on these kind of things. So, they've been talking to software providers about who's using their software. Are there offshore brands accepting UK customers using your software, and talking to software suppliers about that? I think super interesting. I think that would put a big onus on the big licensed operators to vet their supply chain. Because I think there's a second order. Like, this is something we talked about years ago, right? So we were talking to somebody really smart about licensing in Nevada, right? Mm-hmm. And licensing in Nevada also means your entire global operations get looked at. So it's not just what you're doing in Nevada, It's who you are as a company everywhere.
Yeah, well, I used the example of MGM in Massachusetts because they were told that they couldn't have a license because they have the joint venture in Macau with
Yeah. So
what's
so
it?
there's a lot of licensing that only looks within its own jurisdiction, but I think it's a really interesting uh, signal change. I don't know what you want to call it. Where if the licensing authority start looking, okay, well, we're looking at you how you're operating within our borders and under our jurisdiction, but how you behave elsewhere is also important. And so I think you're really going to. Typically, the UK leads the way on this. A lot of the European regulators would look to the UK. Like, obviously, they're all doing their own thing, but they all take inspiration from each other, right? And they all meet up and talk and share knowledge, and because they're basically all regulating the same companies. Or there's a massive, like the Venn diagram is huge, right? Or the overlap in the Venn diagram. And I think that increase, because there was sort of a stake, there was some stuff around evolution, and there was kind of like what's happening within evolutions, who's got evolution on their website or doesn't have it on their website. And I think evolution were saying, well, we're allegedly using like third parties and distribution channels and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, you have to be responsible for your software and who's using it and where they're using it from. As all suppliers would, and operators. So I think there's this really interesting kind of supply chain type scrutiny, which has been overlooked for a long time. And it's been kind of used as a loophole of, well, look, our .co.uk per product is completely fine, but don't look at our .com product and or so I think this is a big trend. And I think if I was a operator, I'd be, doing a little bit of, as an affiliate, I've been DD'd to death. It'd be interesting to see what happens with the suppliers and the software suppliers, and I think the software suppliers themselves kind of understanding their own customers better.
But I think the really interesting part of this is when this starts hitting the payment providers, because there are fewer of them.
Yeah, but this has always been an issue for the payment providers. So they've always had. So that's why there's so many. Like, I don't know what they write. I don't want to say the words acquirers, but there's so many. There's so much money being made in payments for this very reason, because it's just like the layer cake of people, and it's just how many levels are you willing to go down before you find out where that money's come from. So that's like, because you see it in the adult industry. So in the adult industry, particularly the US regulators and stuff have kind of outsourced compliance to Visa and MasterCard.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this entire team at both companies who have to decide what adult videos are allowed and not allowed, or what's allowed to happen in an adult video or not an adult video.
Having worked in that area myself, Fintan, I can say that it is a legal tightrope, to say the least.
But it literally comes down to 3 fingers is okay, 4 fingers is not. Right? It's those kind of discussions they're having, which is like, you're there with your Starbucks, you've come in on a Monday morning, what the fuck are we talking about? Please.
We've all been there, Fintan. Allegedly. But see, here's something that's quite interesting, right? If you start looking at these suppliers and black stroke grey market. So I was talking to an operator in a US facing business, right? Sweepstakes. And I had a fascinating conversation. And I said, like, look, are you going for every state? He said, well, all the legal states. I'm like, well, do you want to define legal states? And he said, if our payment providers will accept payments from that state, then it's legal, because they know better than anybody. And they actually use their payment providers as their barometer. However, if you were the Gambling Commission and a state was unregulated, would you look at that as illegal provision, and would you clamp down on that? So this is very much not a black and white proposition, is it?
It never is, though, right? And it's the old joke, like the only ones who win are the lawyers. Well, hey,
We're in the wrong fucking line of work, allegedly.
mate, but like I've seen how hard lawyers work, and
Yeah, they
honestly,
don't. I mean,
like
Mel's always baking.
they're all going to get replaced by ChatGPT. Right? All that boilerplate legal stuff, like employment contracts and like NDAs and like anything that's boilerplate, like if they haven't set up their own ChatGPT thing to just churn that out for 50 quid, they're going to lose all that business. Right? It'll be all that grunt work is gone or will be gone so quick. It's just going to be the smart ones like Mel and all our other friends of the podcast, where it's like the really like clever stuff. You can sense I've been waiting on an employment contract for 2 weeks.
Only
Don't
they'd
make me
use AI.
ChatGPT this. I don't care if it's wrong. So yeah, I think there's.
Did you see the did you see a part of the steak story? Did you see the Gambling Commission have actually spoken to Everton Football Club, who are shirts with the stake of their shirt sponsors? That's really interesting.
Yeah, because it's interesting because it's where like so but it was more about like Everton need to do their due diligence. Like it was
they did their due diligence. They were like, has the check cleared? Yes. Okay. Put it on all the shirts. Well, allegedly.
We had our what's the name of the book? The guy we had the author on.
Yeah, that was good. That was.
And basically his book is just the check cleared and they were on the shirt. Like, and it's just like repeated, like it didn't matter how scummy or how easy it was to find, or I can't remember the chap's name. It was a really good book. Like just
if you're listening, please email.
It's on the website. And it was just story after story of the exact same thing of football clubs are so desperate for cash, they don't care, and they will do business with the devil himself if that's what it takes.
I'm pretty sure they have.
And I think this is just a long line of, like, on the scale of like dodgy shirt sponsors or shirt sponsors with a questionable or being questioned or anything like that, Steak is absolutely like up there with really big brand. Like it is not even close to top 100 worst whatevers. There was way more, like all those crypto scams and get rich quick schemes and yeah, I think, but again, it's that ecosystem and that level of like everybody needs to take responsibility. You can't just go, oh well, we didn't know. It's quite interesting.
Speaking of taking responsibility, I don't know if you got time for this, but I did promise that
4 minutes.
I would tell the story of the karaoke night in Las Vegas.
You did. Now, is this a 4-minute story, John?
I'll do my best. You keep an eye on the watch.
All right.
And I'll go for it. So, I'm in Las Vegas. It's G2E, I think. It might even have been springtime. I'm pretty sure it's G2E. I'd taken a book down to the bar where I was staying. I was staying at Bill's, which is now the Cromwell. Cromwell, beautiful. Bill's, a bit more spit and sawdust. Anyway, I sit down, say to the barman, just keep them coming. I didn't speak for about 4 hours. Beer just kept arriving, and it was good. I was reading my book. I was happily just sitting there getting pissed. Sometimes you just want to be among people, but not with them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing that, and karaoke starts, and I'm like, ooh.
I've had enough beers.
I had many more than enough. I was quite drunk. Anyway, the standard of this karaoke was exceptional. I mean, it was so good, it was boring. There was a guy did Wichita Lineman, the Glenn Campbell song. Absolutely perfect. Dullest fucking thing you've ever heard. One lady did a Roberta Flack song. Like, of all the singers, there are very few singers who are pretty much untouchable because they were so good. Like Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Roberta Flack is amongst that. She was incredible. Really quite boring. Anyway, And I'm like, I can fucking do this. So I put my name in, and they're like, John, it's John's turn. It's John there. So I get up, I get on stage, and my song starts up, right? It's the Black Crowes, Hard to Handle.
Okay.
I can actually sing it pretty well. It's just about right for me.
Mm-hmm.
Music starts up. I grab the mic. I go, Las Vegas, are you ready to rock? And Las Vegas was not ready to rock. Quite a few people actually did that thing where they turn their head and shield their face with their hands. It's like, well, I'm doing it anyway.
I'm rocking.
So I do the song, absolutely butchered it. It was awful, even by my standards. It was so bad. It was a very British karaoke, shall we say. And I'm walking off stage, and the lady that did Roberta Flack made a comment about my ass.
Okay.
And I'm like, I just turned and looked at her, and I just went,
Me too.
You're obviously a very perceptive woman of unusually good taste. And she said, would you like to join me for a drink? So I said, I should warn you, I'm absolutely shit-faced, but why not? So I sit down, we have a few drinks, and, it's all going swimmingly. And I was very drunk by now. And she says, would you like to come to my room? And I'm like, yes, I would.
Do you have any M&Ms in your minibar? Because I'm all out.
So we go next door to the oh crap, what was next door? Wasn't the Flamingo? I can't remember what the hotel was, but anyway, we go next door.
Mm-hmm.
And we're in the elevator, and there's a little bit of kissing going on. It's all going quite well. And then we get to a room, and the kissing carries on, and things get quite hot and heavy, and I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. I should point out.
It was brilliant.
No, I should point out at this point, my best mate from school is a psychologist, and this does have relevance later.
This is all your speech as well to the kids, right? This is all full circle. Like Team America.
So
like
kids, when you're in Las Vegas, so it's all going swimmingly, and clothes are coming off, and everything's going really well, I think. And then she punched me right in the nuts.
Oh.
And I'm sort of lying there going, why would you do that though? And she sort of looks at me with these heavy lidded eyes, and she goes, did you like that? I'm like, not really. And in my drunken stupidity, I didn't think I should probably leave now. I thought, let's try and recover this situation.
That's the opener, man. This doesn't end well.
I should have diffused it with a compliment, like you must have a really wide fist. You got them both, or something.
Punch like a girl. I call it
punch. Anyway. So I'm like, can we go back to the bit we were doing before?
Not punching.
Yeah. All of the, the stroking and the fun stuff. And she's like, sure. So we go back to that, and I'm thinking, thank God that's it. And then she punches me right in the bollocks again.
Wow.
And I just lying there like,
no.
Why?
Boundaries.
Why? And she just looks at me, and she just goes, welcome to the world of CBT. And I just looked at her and went, cognitive behavioral therapy. And she said, no, cock and ball torture. And I'm like, I should probably, there's a thing I'm supposed to be at. That thing where I don't get punched in the balls.
That's basically you were sexually assaulted.
And I made my excuses and left. But no, that's not the end of the story. Because
she tasered me before I got to the door. Then they brought out the game.
She pulled out the car battery.
Threw me in the bath. And that's how I got this kidney scar.
Yeah, which would you say is your best kidney? No, so in subsequent years, she hit on me two or three more times. And obviously didn't remember me.
She clearly had a type.
I would say so, definitely. But at one time, I was staying. I was staying. She obviously looks at me and thinks, "I'd really like to punch that guy in the bollocks."
Might improve his singing. Oh, but here we are joking about sexual assault. Like, genuinely, mate, that was like.
Well, she thought I was into it, but it's not. It's not. With things like that, there is a boundary setting that needs. Actually, the thing is, when we were in the lift, she did say to me, all sexy like, she was like, "I should tell you, I'm quite sexually dominant." And I just looked at her. I went, "Good luck with that."
Occasionally, I'll let the lady on top. Fine.
But no, it was yeah. So I was staying at MGM Signature a couple of years later, and I'm having breakfast, and she walks over, and I didn't see her until she was like right next to me. I'm sitting at the counter.
If she just walked over and just punched you in the nuts as you eat your eggs and just kept walking, that would have been perfect.
No, she walks over and whispers in my ear, sort of a stage whisper.
Surprise, motherfucker. Stay sharp.
Never let your guard down. No, she whispers in my ear, I just wanted to let you know I think you're a very handsome man. And then she walks off.
There you go.
And the guy who's working the counter, he just looks at me, wiggles his eyebrows.
He's giving you a cut off. No, don't, mate.
No, he wiggles his eyebrows and he's like, "Are you going to go and follow her?" And I'm like, "Let me tell you a story." No, I'm not.
Oh, that is too funny.
So there you go. That is the Las Vegas story that I said I was never going to tell on the podcast, but now I have.
It's out there. It's out there. John's story of sexual assault. Allegedly.
So, thanks for joining us for the lawsuit edition and the executive edition and the, I suppose, sexual assault edition.
Just to finish off, everything we've talked about tonight is allegedly. We have no inside information.
None.
Pure theoretical. We love everybody. Please don't sue us. John's got no money to defend the lawsuit.
Absolutely fuck all.
Yeah.
See you next time. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn. Give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @GamblingFiles. You can connect to myself, John Bruford, or Fintan Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.